Hey, how you doing? And welcome back to this week's video blog. Today's blog is entitled More About Beingness versus Becomingness. All right, so I'd like to thank you for following along and been getting some comments, and I hope these are helping you do better in life. Um, I'm one of these types of people that when I have some sort of a point that I need to make, I usually keep making it and making it till I've choked the living life out of it. This seems to be the case with this concept of beingness versus becomingness. You know, essentially because a person is always being something while they're busy trying to become. And that's a very important concept when you are considering healthcare and your wellness. Um, if one looks back over the years, he or she will discover that it was always much more fun to become, though. This is the stuff dreams are made of, and in many cases, these dreams are the things that carry us through the mundane. This idea of becoming someday, and all the rest of the stuff. But never forget that while you're becoming, you are actually being something. The only problem with that is that well, here we go, while one is working on becoming, he is most certainly being something at that time, whether it's a person working at a dead-end job, taking classes, or at the very least being someone who is trying and dreaming to become, right? And heaven forbid if one actually does become, because at that moment that you become, you're going to need a new game. You're going to need some new ambition or goal to work towards, right? So once you've landed on a becoming, now you are that thing and you will have to continue to work at it. So there's really no resting point. Same with health and wellness. Once you're healthy and well, it's not like, oh, I can quit doing that. No, you got to continue doing that. Even sadder is the person whose dreams and ambitions were never realized, and they are kind of stuck being something or someone that they would rather not be. And that's something to think about too. You'll see that with a lot of people who are sick and have health issues and other problems like that. Now they're stuck being a unhealthy person. Although this is something I would rather not test, this is just kind of an interesting thing that I read one time, that if you are swimming in the ocean and all of a sudden here's a shark getting ready to eat you, the simplest thing to do is be the shark and don't eat yourself. Kind of a interesting thought. It could work, but the shark isn't going to give you a moment while you work at becoming a shark. You're going to have to be the shark and don't eat yourself. Otherwise, you're going to be the shark's dinner. So a person sees that there could be a great fluidity in being able to assume beingnesses rather than grinding away at trying to become. If you thought about it, if you could just simply be whatever it is you needed to be at the time you needed to be it, well, then you would be it. That would be the great thing to do. Good. I continue to hammer this point because it's always easier to simply be healthy instead of working all the time trying to become healthy. Let's consider again for the third time this quote from Emerson. We are always getting ready to live, but never living. I really like that quote for some reason, and there's a good message in there. We see people taking all kinds of potions and lotions and doing more harm than good, spending 7 days grinding away at the gym, grinding away on some other physical torture the rest of the time and stuff like that, in the hope that one day they'll become this thing. And remember, once you become, you need a new game. You can't rest on that thing that you became. Now you're being that thing, but even to be that, there's a certain amount of work to continue to be that thing. So these people are being unhealthy, if you're sitting there destroying yourself, regardless of what they believe in terms of one day becoming healthy. Right now, they are being unhealthy. So when we were kids, you always remember people would ask you, or you'd tell everybody what you wanted to be when you grew up, right? The better question would have been, what do you want to do? And not so much, what do you do when you want to when you grow up, but what do you want to do now? Think about that as a kid. What do you want to do now? Rather than, well, someday and all the rest of the stuff, because there's all that being stuff again. Because you have to keep in mind, regardless, it is always now, the perpetual now. So it's always so much better to look at things in terms of what do you want to do now rather than what you hope to become or be some later date. Now, here's the thing. A person, when you're doing things and you're looking at stuff, and we have the 3 golden rules of Paragon, you need to ask yourself when you decided some sort of a course of becoming so that you can eventually be or become whatever you want to say, you need to ask yourself, am I harming myself? Secondly, are these lifestyle changes and these things that I'm doing, you need to make sure, are they keeping you from hurting yourself? And then the third one is to make sure that what you are actually doing, that it's actually working and you're getting better and healthier, right? If not, you need to stop harming yourself, right? And be healthy. You know, do the usual and customary, like we talked about in the previous blog, right? Eat healthy foods, get plenty of sleep, sunshine, plenty of exercise, rest, and don't waste your time with idiots. If you're around idiots, go find new friends. I mean, seriously, life's too short to endure idiots. I think sometimes people are so spun up in becoming that they lose sight of the ultimate ambition, and that is to live and live well, right? So I'm going to do all these things that I do not consider to be living well or life, or things that I really want to do with the hope someday that I'm going to live better and live longer, and it doesn't work that way. You know, the other day I asked Dr. Diane if she could choose, which one would she take? Would it be to live 1 week, the most incredible, bliss-filled life where all of her dreams and wishes and everything came true in that week? And there's a good chance that might be the last week of her life. Or would she rather just stay on the course and slug it out and see if she can somehow make it to 100 years old? She wanted to know what would happen after that week. That's a good question. That's exactly right. And what happens after that week, and even more so, what would that amazing, amazing week even look like? That's her decision. She can make it how it is. I mean, she could make another week, right? So in that week, you could make another week that was even more amazing than that last week, which was the most amazing week. Or she could figure out how to make things not so bad while she grounded out to make it 100. You get the idea. Here's that doingness, right? More doing rather than being. I suppose in the end it wouldn't matter much because no matter which direction or which choice she took, she still has a lot of work to do, right? If you're going to make it, if this is going to be the most incredible week of your life, you got a lot of work to do to make it so. Or if you're going to try and grind it out to 100, there's a lot of things you're going to have to do to make it to 100. And therein's the problem, you know, because when I asked her, she wasn't even really sure what that amazing week would even look like or what it would take to get to 100. And therein lies the problem. If you can't imagine it, you probably can't create it, right? So if you're so busy trying to become some sort of a thought or an idea, you're not really imagining what it could be. Sadly, most people's dreams and ambitions aren't really theirs anyway. They belong to somebody else. So they're working very hard to be someone else. We see that with these influencers and so on and so forth on the YouTube. So something to think about. So that's the big question. Is the beingness that most are spending the best years of their life trying to become, I mean, is it somebody else's decision? Could be. That would be a problem. I think we are so spun up in trying to find happiness, right? By doing or being, or someday if you could just become that, that you would now have this happiness. And that would be the happiness that we seek and create. That would be the joy of being healthy, of living well, and all the rest of this stuff. I mean, what could be easier? But, you know, you got to think about that a little bit. It's got to be easier than chasing someone else's happiness, wouldn't it? Just to be your happiness, create your happiness, create your health and your wellness, the wellness and happiness or health that you consider to be well and healthy to you? Why not just do that? I just finished reading a book by an author named Carrie Wallace, and it's entitled Stories of the Saints. I mean, it's an easy book to read, but it's for older kids, but I really, really liked it. And so it told these accounts and stories of a number of the saints that most people know about. And there was one particular saint named John of the Cross, who was a Spanish priest, a poet, and a thinker. And this is an interesting thought. He had an idea of happiness, right? And trying to seek and find happiness rather than simply being the happiness that you want. And he was upset that a number of the priests and monks of his time were more interested in accumulating wealth and power rather than serving God and Jesus like they had promised and helping the people that they had promised to take care of. They were more into finding their own happiness. And he said, on trying to find happiness in this world, this is a very interesting quote, that trying to find happiness in this world is like eating air when you're starving. It's pretty interesting. Like trying to eat air when you're starving. That's what it's like to try and find happiness in this world. You have to create it or be that happiness. So let me ask, how many plates of air would it take for you to be sated, especially if you were starving? Right? Most will do whatever they can to get as many plates of air as possible and never find fulfillment or happiness ever. Because, well, yeah, happiness, that's plates of air. At any rate, figuratively speaking, it isn't what most are pursuing in their efforts to become. I mean, isn't that what they're trying to get? Thousands and thousands of plates of air to be happy? Just be happy. Just be healthy. So here's a question. How much testosterone does a person have to take before they are fully convinced they are back in high school? How many magic mushroom trips to the magic world do people have to take before they can finally confront this world? How much Ozempic does a person have to take before they are satisfied that they are skinnier than Kate Moss? There's a name from the past. How many different biohacks does a person have to do before they feel that they've convinced everybody that there's some kind of superhuman cyborg machine, right? I mean, what's so bad about simply being you and living your life and pursuing and being and doing whatever you consider health and wellness? If you think nothing's wrong with that, then give us a call or drop us an email, and we'll be more than happy to help you realize what an amazing person you really are. But you probably already know that, right? So, all right, that was it for that particular video. If you think about it, go ahead and hit the like button. We've been getting some comments. I always love the comments. I would love for people to come in if they just want to talk about these blogs and some of my crazy ideas. These are just my thoughts. I'm not trying to preach that this is how you need to do it. And that would be a lot of fun. So in the meantime, take care, and we'll see you next week with another installment. Take care.